Sirius College Foundation webinar, Alumni Conversations. Welcome to everybody who's joining us on this Thursday evening. My name is Parimal Rohit. I am Sirius College Class of 95, UCLA Class of 98. Joining me today on the webinar for Alumni Conversations is an amazing fellow who we'll get to know over the next 30 to 40 minutes. Hansjeet Duggal. Hansjeet has went to Sirius College. He is a recent attendee at the school. I want to say 2019 and 2020. We'll confirm the dates in a minute with that. But that's Hansjeet. Let me give you a little bit of information about him before we dive into the questions and get to know him a little better. Hansjeet, he is a virtual and augmented reality and animation evangelist. He's also an editor. He had a VR animated film called Freiheit, which was selected to the Annecy Festival in France. It is the oldest and most competitive animation film festival out there. He's also part of the American Cinema Editors Diversity Program, which he joined in 2019. His movies have premiered on PBS and other major streaming services. He's also completed an 8-episode animation series, which is about to premiere soon. Hopefully we'll get into that a little bit. He also teaches filmmaking students throughout the United States, England, and Canada. And one thing I'm impressed about is his ability to speak multiple languages. He's got 5 under his belt. He's trying to learn 2 more. We will get into some of that as well, but before we do, welcome Hansjeet.
Well, thank you, Parimal.
Quite the impressive resume. I actually want to start with the languages. Let's start with the 5 you do speak. Kind of share with the audience the languages you're able to already communicate in.
English, that is one. Then Punjabi, Hindi, Gujarati, French. Hindi, Punjabi, Gujarati are the Indian languages. Mm-hmm. French is, during my first master's, there was a program, and when I was in France as well, so my French got fluent. Right. So those are the 5 that I'm fluent in: read, write, speak, easily. And there are 2 other languages that I'm working on. I'm working on my German for the past a year and a half now. Mm-hmm. The grammar is very difficult, but so slowly it's taking its toll on me. But so by 2023, my goal is to be fluent in German, or at least be enough that if I'm speaking on a phone with someone, they cannot make up, okay, who's speaking? Is it a German person or? Sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, my accent will give them away for sure. The other language that I'm working on right now is Mandarin.
Okay, which is harder, Mandarin or German?
I mean, one of the things that actually helped me with German and the other Nordic languages that I just know the words here and there, basic conversations or phrases. The words are certainly similar here and there, so it does help me that. For Mandarin, it's totally different. Firstly, like in English or any other languages, we have alphabets. Mm-hmm. And to produce a sound, we add E, O, U, vowels, or we make a combination. Sure. Mandarin doesn't have that. Every character has its own sound and it has its own character as well.
Wow.
So there are about 35,000 characters, maybe more.
Yeah. So and to master that, it must be, you gotta have a lot of patience, I would assume, just to even.
So yeah, I just want to be conversational in my Mandarin in the next 2 or 3 years, and then sure. I'll let the language take its time to be fluent on my part.
Cool. So let's take a step back, and go to kind of where you came from. You came to the United States in 2015. Give us a little bit of perspective, kind of where you grew up. I believe you grew up in India, and so tell us about kind of your upbringing and, how did you, get into film eventually? I mean, what was your path to all right, you're a kid. Was this something you dreamed about doing as a child? Walk us through kind of your growing up and kind of how that led to where you are right now, as quickly as you can.
Okay, as quickly as it can. It's pretty simple. One day, by the age of 8, I had a revelation that on June 24, 2021, a gentleman named Parimal will interview me and he'll ask me the question and I'll say, that's why I pursued this thing.
You had the vision way back when you were a kid, huh?
I'm just joking. Yeah. I don't know how it happened, to be very honest. I grew up watching Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, Tom and Jerry. I think slowly that's how it took its toll. And by the age of 6 or 8, I was drawing a lot. And I started taking professional classes as well on it.
Okay.
By the age of 14 or 15, I would say I mean, the classes had become very professional. I was taking mentorship under a very professional lady. And by the time I did my undergrad, and I didn't know what has to be done, I just pursued something, and it was Bachelor's of Commerce, which has again helped me magnificently in terms of the business communication, or just how I didn't know I would be pursuing animation or film as a hardcore career down the line. But during the BCom, it was the mentors that I met there. Anup Mohanty, Rohit Duggal, two of the main ones. Those are persons who eventually I realized, okay, this is there, but that's the main thing. So I was going for my MBA, like everyone else. I gave an exam. I got into pretty good college as well, but down the line, the animation, there are only 3 schools in India which teach you animation design, and I was eligible for one of those.
Okay.
There were only 7 seats available, so I gave the written test, the interview, and I got it, luckily.
Wow, so you were one of 7 people. How many people are competing though for the 7 seats? Do you know?
Whole India, maybe. They didn't give out the statistics to us.
But still 7 seats, I'm sure, I mean, even if there's more than
I think it was very difficult. I was thinking I'll not get in.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so where was the school at? Was it close to home? Was it far from home?
But this was Jaipur.
Jaipur, okay. So central, basically north central India, yeah.
Yes, on the western side of India.
Yeah, Western India, yeah.
Right above Gujarat.
Okay, so and how long ago was this? How many years ago?
I started that 2011.
11, okay.
About 10 years ago.
Okay.
So the mentors that I met there, they groomed me very professionally then.
Right. So this is 2011-ish. You came to the United States in 2015. What's happening in those 4 years in between? So from 2011 to 2015.
School was going on, pretty normal. And since I didn't have like an art background, so the first semester there, even the mentors said, you'll have to put in some extra time to get your skill up to a level, up to par. And they said, we'll help you on that. And they were always there. So by the end of the middle of first semester, or by the end of first semester, I would say my professors started getting me jobs as well. Like they were working all professionally as well. So they'll say, this is available. Would you like to do for it? And if you have to go to some city or somewhere, the deal was, we can't pay you, but we'll pay for your housing and we'll pay for your food. When I was like 19, 20, I said, of course I'll go there.
Yeah.
And many things happen just like that. Okay, you go to this city, you go to that place. The lodging was provided, the food was provided. I didn't have to worry about anything else.
Sure.
We just enjoyed that time. And during that time, I was working in an animation studio, which were catering animation for South Korea, Denmark, Australia. So that grooming was going on. And I'm still in touch with all of my mentors who were teaching me back there.
Okay.
Regularly, maybe once a month, just to, hey, this is happening or that's happening. Either they ask me or I need some kind of advice or wisdom. So I just knock their door every now and then.
Right. Okay. So let's fast forward now to 2015. You head to the United States. Did you come straight to Southern California? Or where was your first arrival when you came here?
Orange, Los Angeles. Orange was the first place where I came to. So.
And what was your thought process of picking Southern California and Orange County to arrive? Was there a reason why you came here?
In 2014, as I was working during my master's and even after my master's, I made a short independent animated movie, which got selected here in LA. Okay. And the organizers said that, hey, would you be willing to come here? We'll pay for your flight and lodging, whatnot. And I was happy, of course. That's my first time coming here in the United States. Okay. And so you got some exposure here, okay. So that was November 2014 when I came here. And when I came here, one of the organizers, Vicky, that's how I got introduced to the Chapman University, and I met one of the professors here.
Oh, are you talking about Vicky Singh?
Yes.
Right? Yeah, I know him. Yeah, this is the Sequence Festival, right?
Yes, with Nilesh Desai, they work together.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, this is at the Ford School, I think,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, at a Chapman, right? Okay,
Mhm.
I know this festival. Yeah.
So I met one of the professors here, and I didn't know who that professor was. I just
Mhm.
thought he, just like a normal random gentleman coming in, we started having a chat. So I took down his name and number, and once I got back to where I was staying, I looked him up, and it said on the top, he's an Oscar-nominated guy. And so I just chatted him next day. I met him again, and he was very kind. He said, "It won't hurt you to advance your skill if you apply here, or see what happens. Just give it a chance."
Uh-huh.
So the knock happened on the door, and I opened the door, and now I'm talking with you right now.
Nice, nice. Okay. So now you're here in 2015. 4 years later, you're at Cerritos College. Now,
Yes.
you've already done some education and you got your bachelor's and your master's in India. What spurred you, I guess, over the next 4 years to come to Cerritos College? What was that process, the decision making like?
So as I was working on my show, one of the shows ended, the second one was about to start. So there was a period that we had to research on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, I'm gonna be very regimented. I'll wake up at 6 in the morning. I'll do this. By 8 a.m., I'll start my this research. I'll read this, I'll read that. And a weekend, I found myself just watching random YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe part of the day was 30 minutes, 40 minutes of research here and there. But majorly part was just having leisure time, not doing much. And then that's when I thought, okay, I need to have some regimented thing, a schedule. So at least I can put myself in a schedule and get my research done. And the best way was to go back to education again.
Okay.
And that never hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a certificate AA degree there.
All right.
And I met a professor named Chris Wilson for the
Okay.
first time there. Very nice guy. I talked to him about my background. He said, yeah, this will help you. And during even the classes that I took with him, some of the classes were basic, but I asked him, hey, will it be okay if I relocate my time on honing my this skill, and you can, whatever assignments you give me specifically for that, I can submit you those back for the class. He said, yeah, that's fine, but keep your classwork still up to the par, or whatever I'm doing, keep that ready all the time.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that was there. And then there was another professor, Sergio Terran, that I met here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I already missed his coffee. He has his room there, and the coffee is pouring all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always go to that. These are the two classes that I enjoyed the most there.
Okay. So tell us about, I guess I'm going to ask this as a broad question. We'll kind of get a little more detail from here, but virtual and augmented reality and animation. How is that kind of like, just tell us what that means for, I mean, because it's a new technology, it's a new way of watching content. So just walk us through what we're seeing with the rise. What is this visual, what's the best way to describe this visual medium?
Okay. So the very best way is whenever we watch a movie on a screen or on our laptops, on our screens, in all other mediums, that particular thing is acting as a medium for us, whatever we are watching. But in virtual reality, our consciousness becomes the medium.
Okay.
So it's more about empathy at that time that we are trying to achieve through. It's the same language, the same grammar. When I say this, it means the film language, the animation language, the grammar is, everything is the same, but we are just writing the grammar differently in VR, which is virtual reality, and AR, which is augmented reality.
Okay. Does that change? Doing it virtually and augmented, does that change the way you tell your story? I mean, you're saying I know the language is the same, but is the story the same, or is there a difference in your storytelling approach?
We are still following the same principles that have been taught to us, or that we know about for the past 100 years of filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
If you go 100 years ago, Lumiere's brothers movie. Their one scene in the theater when the train was approaching towards the audience, even though it was like a flat screen, the whole theater went frenzy because they had never experienced something like that ever in their life.
Yeah.
But now we know if a train is on the screen, it's gonna pass. It's not gonna hit us or anything.
Right.
So we are on the same platform again, 100 years later, but instead of a flat screen, we are having it on a headset with us.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
We're experimenting with the same tools that have been laid down for 100 years. We're just having more fun with them right now.
Got it. Okay. Now let's kind of dive into your 8-episode animated series. What can you share with us? What's the title of it? What is it about? When can we see it? Where will it stream or air? Just give us all the details. Whatever you can share.
It's an 8-part animated series. It's called I See Kashmir at Midnight from New Delhi. Okay. It's by a poet named Aga Shahid Ali. And he died at the age of 50, I think. Okay. So that's his recollection of all his memories of Kashmir. How Kashmir was, what the struggle of Kashmir has been so far. And back 80 years ago, 50 years ago, they said, oh, in next few days or next few months, a few years, everything will be fine. Everyone will be coming back to normal. This is 1947, let's say. This is 2021. The things are still the same. People, if someone goes out of their home, let's say a kid goes out, they still have that fear whether their child will come back or not. What will happen if this happens, or the curfew goes on. So it's just telling the same story of which is happening everywhere in the world. Let's say it's happening around the border as well.
So for everybody who's on the webinar who may not have context, can you quickly summarize? I mean, this is an unfair question. I understand it's an unfair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Can you give some quick context as to explaining what Kashmir is, what the conflict is, just for people who may not know what's going on in Kashmir and where it is geographically?
Okay. Geographically, Kashmir is the northern part of India. It shares its border with India, China, and Pakistan. So that's right where the Kashmir is. To give more of an analogical idea so you can connect what's happening at Kashmir is, if you see what's happening in Palestine and Israel and Gaza, the situation, it's very similar, but it's happening with Kashmir, India, and Pakistan right now.
Right. And this is so just we don't want to bring that up because this is a subject of your series, and so when people watch that, it'd be nice to have the context of like, all right, this is a conflict that's been happening for decades, maybe even centuries, you could even say.
Yes.
It's an old conflict for sure. So where can we see it, and when is it coming out?
I think it will be premiered in the Six Lens Film Festival this year in November 2021.
Okay.
For sure. And as for the premiering or when it's going to the network, that's still in the process right now. So we are still going back and forth between them. So most likely it looks like it will be next year somewhere. It will get a streaming platform it will go on to.
Right. Okay. So what's interesting is you recently fresh off of going to school, and now you're teaching. You're the one who's now helping students kind of learn the process of filmmaking.
Yes.
What's I guess let's say you get a batch of students that are all new to filmmaking. They're kind of where today they are, where you were 10 years ago, where you're kind of learning this. What's the first piece of advice you'd give them?
The very first piece of advice that I give to anyone is to be like bloody bold. Like whatever they are trying to achieve, whether it makes sense or not, whether it will turn out into the fruit that they have in their mind. My advice is to be bloody bold.
Okay. Got it. Okay. And, I guess what do they learn from your process? I mean, of all that you went through, I mean, you went from, just drawing to now you're actually making actual projects. I guess what's the one practical thing students can learn from your process?
And so any student, not only from my process, anyone who's working out there professionally, when we are growing up or we are students, we say, oh, we want to make our habit or our hobby as a profession. Nothing wrong with it. But when it turns into profession, it comes with connotations as well. For a hobby, you're just working for yourself at that time. There's no kind of a time limit, or if you're not happy, you can start again, again, and again. You can spend a month, come with the whatever's good for you. But
Right.
when it becomes a profession, then there's many layers that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, it needs to meet the professional standard, whatever industry it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a deadline hanging for you. So you
Mm-hmm.
need. So this is the only difference between a student and a professional. They can both have the same talent, the same hard work. They can both produce the same work. But a professional is one who gets the same thing done under pressure, under time, efficiently, very effectively, and delivers that professional quality out to the world.
Right. Okay. I want to shift gears a little bit and dive a little bit into animation. And I'm a film buff, and I remember when I was growing up, animation was like it was not the storytelling device it is today. Now we see a lot of a wide range of stories that are told through animation for all age ranges. Growing up, I remember I was always told that anything that's cartoonish or animation is just for kids.
Yes.
So how has animation as a storytelling device kind of grown up, and how has it evolved as a storytelling device?
If you look into the history of animation, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying 100 years back when Tex Avery and the Disney's 9 old men were making animated movies, or even the short 7-minute clips or 8-minute pieces that you see, they
Mm-hmm.
were made for adults. They were not made for kids.
Mm-hmm.
The reason was, as the Industrial Revolution was going on, people would come back to their home, dead tired, and they need something to relax. And cartoons were the one thing that they can take away their uh, immersion that we call, or
Mm-hmm.
there's a suspension of disbelief when you watch something, and that goes away right away.
Right.
One of the greatest animation persons out there, Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli,
Mm-hmm.
he says this term that, and I agree with him, that animation begins where live action ends.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are certain things which live action does very nice, and animation has learned everything from live action. But
Mm-hmm.
animation is one where it totally is. It takes you into a world which and submerges into the world very much so. So over the period of time, the animation has transfers from just being for adults. When I say adults, I mean just funny stuff, all the Tom and Jerry kind of thing, tax everything.
Mm-hmm.
It has transitioned from only being for adults to the kids. Now you see preschool animations coming out, and even have like mobile applications which are just for preschoolers, which has helped aided in learning as well. And people who have disabilities, it has helped them as well in as a teaching ability.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So now we're going to transition, Hansjeet, to questions that are given us by the people who are attending the webinar. So we're getting some questions in. So I'll read you these questions, and we'll continue this conversation through what's being submitted. And the first question that's being asked is actually a great transition. It's picking up from where we just finished up right now. And the question is, what is the animation film that has influenced you the most?
Uh, there's one called Persepolis.
What's it called?
Persepolis.
Police. Okay.
It was done by, I forgot the name of the director,
Mm-hmm.
but it was again on something that's similar to the one that I finished on I Saw Kashmir from at midnight from New Delhi. It has the same kind of connotations where it's an Iranian girl who gets sent to England because she knows that her education at her hometown won't be as effective, and she will be living a suppressed life. So her parents send her out to England.
Mm-hmm.
That's there. There's one called Waltz with Bashir. It's by Ari Folman.
Okay.
It's again by it. He used to be an Israeli soldier back then. So when the war happened in '82, I believe. So that's his recollection of his memories. What has happened? He goes to his friends and peers and interviews them. Those are two movies. Then there's a movie called by Hayao Miyazaki, Princess Mononoke.
Yes, that's a great movie.
Howl's Moving Castle is one.
Mm-hmm.
The Wind Rises is one. So those are the few movies that have actually, and there's a French gentleman, Sylvain Chomet.
Mm-hmm.
His movie is The Triplets of Benevilla. Very stylistic, very French.
Sure.
Those are the movies that I've actually, once I saw international cinema,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I realized, oh, okay, this can be done as well, or this is how you can tell things in animation as well. So those have been very inspiring to me.
Yeah. Okay. Our next question is a little interactive, and hopefully we'll be able to make it work. The question is, can you show us an example or a scene of something that you're working on right now?
Can I get a minute then? Maybe I can do that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to look up something, and it could be anything. I mean, anything you're working on right at this moment. I mean, yeah. If you have something you can share with us.
Hold on. Let me see if I have it on my email. Then maybe I can share my screen with you.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
In the meanwhile, you can have my next question, and I can answer that question as we talk.
Okay. Cool. So the next question is, when did you decide that animation and filmmaking was what you wanted to do as a career?
I think by the age of 18, maybe I would say. Again, it wasn't like a sudden decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gradually happened.
Okay.
Or there was, I was reading someone's book, and that person said that you don't choose your career chooses you. So I'm kind of mixed with that. I don't know how much I agree or how much I disagree, but I do see some truth there. I wasn't thinking I'm going to pursue that, I want to pursue that.
Mm-hmm.
But it gradually happened.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Did you have your thing ready, or do you want me to ask the next question?
You can ask the next question. I'm trying to find it.
Okay. So this is a quick question. Do you watch any Japanese animation and
I watch anime all the time.
watch Japanese all the time? Okay. How has it influenced your work?
Firstly, there are certain things by Miyazaki that he has done. Isao Takahata,
Uh-huh.
his work, and there's another anime movie called Wolf Children.
Okay.
That's one, and there's one called. There's an English remake of it. Scarlett Johansson came into that movie as in the live action movie. Ghost in a Shell.
Ghost in the Shell. Yes, I remember that. I did watch. I watched both versions. I watched the Japanese version and the Scarlet version. Yes, that was a great series. Yeah.
So those are the and that's there. And then if you watch any other anime show, Brotherhood is there. Full Metal Alchemist is there.
Yeah. Another question is, do you have a favorite anime film, and were you influenced by things like Akira and Robotech?
Akira was one, Ghost in a Shell was one, and there's one I usually although I like realistic stories or which are very impressionistic kind of stories.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask me, my personal, which I'm good at, is more towards the preschoolers and the comedic style.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very good comedic timing. So there's a French anthology movie which came out in 2017 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Le Grand Méchant Renard, which means the big bad fox.
Okay.
Very funny thing. It's again for preschoolers. Anyone can watch it.
Uh-huh.
If you talk about the anime movies, there's one called The Wind Rises by Miyazaki-san.
Miyazaki-san. Okay. Do you have a favorite Disney film?
It has to be from something from 1940s or
40s. Okay.
I mean, I did like Inside Out quite a lot.
Okay.
Although it's a Pixar movie, but Disney has their tutelage over it.
Right.
Inside Out was pretty good. Ratatouille.
That was another good movie. Yes.
Up is another that I really like.
Up is one of my favorites. Yes, for sure. I got another deep question to ask you, but did you? Let's get back to the example or anything you're working on. Were you able to find something?
Yes, if you can enable the participation for my screen, I can do it. I have it ready with me.
Okay, let's see if I can. So let's see. I hope I know how to do this. I guess, let me see. Enable. I'm going to do this right now. Enable, if I could find it. Let's see. Let's see. I am not the most tech savvy person here, so I hope I can figure this out in the next few seconds. Or is there a way you could take a picture from your cell phone and put your cell phone on the screen? I don't know if there's a way
If
we
I
could do that.
can have it on my another screen.
Okay, wait. I think Matt is going to make you a host, so that way you could be able to share screen at the bottom. So, um, okay, you are now a
Yes,
host.
I'm the host.
So let's see. You should be able to hit share screen on your end
You
now.
see it?
There we go. I see it. Yes.
So this
Yes.
is one of an illustration. One of my we were working together on. It's for
Okay.
a documentary, and I think it's out on PBS as well at the
Okay.
moment.
So
I
explain
can.
to us, what are we looking at?
This is rural Punjab at the moment.
Hmm.
It's a story about a boy who left Punjab and he came to Canada, and then he lives and they are in Bellingham, Washington State.
Okay.
So they started with 10 acres of land, and as they progressed over time, they have a massive farmland up in Bellingham,
Hmm.
and they farm blueberries, raspberries, blackcurrants, and they
Hmm.
have like 7 different kinds of blueberries. One's from like has some like New Zealand kind of a thing. Then there's Australian thing, and then there's Dutch one. So there's multiple things. So this is the story that the person was talking, that he grew up in on a farmland back in India with his mom and dad, and he could see few of the children going to school early
Hmm.
in the morning around 6, and he would be working on the field, and then after he would finish that, he will go to the school. So this is one of those that I have, and I got one more ready on my end. This is, everyone can see it, right?
Yes, I can see this.
So
Oh,
this
wow.
is about the riots that happened in the state of Washington. I
Hmm.
think 87, 82, maybe I'm getting the dates wrong, but since anyone who came from India, Sikhs, Hindus, Muslims, if they were generally said Hindus go back. That's the one term that they knew. So this is about the Sikhs who came in there, and this is again part of the same documentary
Hmm.
about the farmers, that when the riots happened, they were all the Indian population was forced out of the town
Yeah.
in Washington State. So this is one of the things that we have. We couldn't find, our research period was so low, and we couldn't get clearances from some of the archival photographs. So we made one of ourselves, that this is what was happening on the streets at that time.
Wow. Wow. This is a very, very impressive piece of work here. I'm really, really impressed here. Wow.
And this is, we are talking about things that are happening 40, 50 years ago.
Sure.
And similar kind of things are coming back every time and again. It's
Yeah.
just the situations are different, but the context is always the same.
It's very cyclical, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's still very relevant today, very poignant today. Wow. Amazing. So I want to finish with this question. This is from a recent alumni, I don't know if recent, but from an alumni of college. And the question is this. I'm just going to read you the full message. It's, my name is Shan Singh. I'm an alumni at Sridhar College, and just like you, I'm Punjabi. From one Punjabi to another, can you tell me how it's like to try to break into the film world? And is one of your goals to change the way how Punjabis are perceived?
Um,
So it's two questions there. Breaking into the industry, and then how are you telling stories how are you changing the way Punjabis are perceived in your storytelling?
um, the first part of the question, breaking in the industry, I would say not just as a Punjabi, for anyone,
Hmm.
any race, any skin color that you're in. Firstly, you have to have a mentor. If you see any player, any soccer player, any professional tennis player, anyone, they always have a coach.
Hmm.
It's not that they have won 10 Grand Slams and they will stop coaching from them. They always have a coach with them. So I would say you need to have a mentor all the time.
Hmm.
Even if you have spent 20 years or you're still a veteran, this, you still need to have a coach who can guide you something. Okay, let's do this way, let's do that way. And the coach will be there for you to take you through how you can get into the industry.
Sure.
Because it's, firstly, you'll get a lot of no's. And it's all about a single one that you need to, single yes that you need to get. And that's all it takes. So you need to have a coach or a mentor, regardless, and they'll take care for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part of the question about representation, yeah, as a Punjabi Sikh, yes, but it goes same for everyone, whether you're Peruvian, Indian, any brown skin, Latinx, Black, anything, it's same. The representation is same for everyone. It's not that my representation is different from a Mexican gentleman or a Black gentleman. It's same for both, for every one of us.
Right.
Man or woman, everything's equal.
Right.
So for the representation, if no one's making your stories, make your own.
Mm-hmm.
You might get no's, but all you need is a one yes, and that's what it matters. So if nothing, I would say, if you're not getting it or no one's accepting something, your story, just make your own. There's enough tools out there right now. 50 years ago, the tools were costlier. The tools right now are pretty cheap as compared to 50 years ago. They're much more handy that we can use easily we have our cell phones. So if nothing is happening, I would say make your own stories and start telling your own stories. And David Lynch says this thing that, so what if the same story has been told millions of times, but the same story hasn't been told by you, and you being all the individual men and women out there. So if you tell the same story, but still it's going to have your subjectiveness to it.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of talking about stories that have been told many times, but not by you, is there a favorite live action film that you would turn into an animated film?
A live action film that I would turn into animated film, Pathar Panchali.
Okay.
Satyajit Ray, considered one of the finest Indian filmmakers.
Yeah.
So maybe one of his movies. I mean, just to give a story, everything was shot on film back in the days when he was shooting, and all of his film got burned in a film library. So it was the British Library who resurrected it back to, and now we have copies of it available in 4K at Criterion. So maybe one of his stories, or maybe a story by Premchand, like some of his stories into animated movie.
Okay. Wow, great answers. Well, Hansjeet, this was a great conversation. Any other words of wisdom you'd like to share with us before we end our conversation today?
Well, thank you for having me, and be bloody bold.
For sure. 100% agree with you on that one. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's amazing to see the work you've done in such a short amount of time. And I know I speak for everybody on the webinar and saying we wish you the best. We look forward to watching your 8-part series when it is out and available to watch. So best of fortune on that. And please do continue to be bloody bold. And we'll look forward to many more works from you. And maybe one day, 20, 30, 40 years from now, there'll be another student citing your work as his or her favorite. So much love to you for everything you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And on behalf of everybody at Truist College and the Truist College Foundation, thank you for everyone who's joined the webinar. On behalf of the foundation, I'm Parimal. Glad to have you, and we'll talk to you next month.
Thank you, Parimal. Thank you, Matthew, and thank you, Carol, for putting my name out.
That's great. And thank you, Hansjeet. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Parimal.